Hey everybody, what's up? It's Michael Termini with the Game House, and today I'm joined by Golden Guardians Ablazeolive. Unfortunately, after a loss to C9 on the first day, so this was a bit of an interesting game for numerous reasons, from the draft picks to I guess like the mythos going in. But let's start off with that mid lane matchup. So you were into Fudge's Ivern of all things. So how was that matchup through your perspective, and what was your game plan going into it?
I was certainly confused. I didn't know if it was Ivern mid or Ivern top in the draft phase. I also didn't know if it was going to be taking Smite or if it wasn't going to be taking Smite. So it was a bit hard for me to know which sort of rune setup to go for, because you do different runes and stuff depending on if they're going Smite. So it's a bit confusing going into the game, but I was pretty confident that if I just scaled and got to my first Victor upgrade, that I was pretty confident the lane would just be completely unplayable. So that ended up being the case. There was a bit of a disaster in the bot river, but kind of just before that, the lane was not looking very fun for the Ivern. I was kind of just sitting in front of the tower taking plates, almost killing him, and that was before I got the mythic. So once I got the mythic, I'm pretty sure that I'll just take every single plate in front of him, and he needs to call for help. But that's not how the game went. We went to try to take bot tower, and it didn't go well.
So, about the Smite pick in general, like the Smite mids and the Smite tops, is this something that Golden Guardians have been, scrimming against, playing yourselves? Is this something that you guys are like anticipating being really important for these next couple weeks?
I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah.
I do think that naturally FlyQuest played out today, and we play FlyQuest tomorrow, so we definitely have our own idea of what's good against it. We may play it as well. There are definitely situations where it is very good, and there are definitely situations where it is very bad. I think it's definitely situational. I don't want to give too much away, so
I can't blame you. That's fair enough. So Pride, or Pride Stalker, because he changed his name like 45 times, is on your team. And so this was his first game in the LCS, and he had a pretty impressive start with that Kiana. Obviously a pretty unorthodox jungle pick. But what has it been playing with him, and him arriving in NA and all that?
yeah, it's been really fun. He brings a very unique perspective on the game. I've played with some EU players before, and they're always kind of similar in that they're very blunt. So if you're not used to that, it can be a bit, off-putting. But I played with Treats before on TSM Academy, so I'm kind of used to it. And yeah, he has this very carry-centric playstyle, and he always, prioritizes getting himself ahead. And I think that we built a good strategy incorporating him into the Golden Guardians playstyle. So I feel very confident. I think he's a really good player.
So are we gonna expect more like dominant jungle picks like that on him? Is that like his style? Because I know he was known for the Talon and the Zed last year. Obviously, it's a little bit weaker this year, but like weird picks like the Kiana and stuff that just wants to run you over and be hyper aggressive.
Yeah, I think for sure that's definitely what he would prefer to play. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't play, the taunts, the Jarvans, the Poppies, the Zinzaos. He pulls those out when he needs to. But I mean, this game, it just happened to be the case that we could pull out something that he can shine on.
Fair enough. So Golden Guardians Academy was playing in Lockin, obviously. So how was it for you guys, I guess, watching the Academy team represent Golden Guardians while y'all were just probably sitting there on the couch or maybe doing scrims or whatever? How was that feeling?
It was very reminiscent of when I was back on Academy. Just watching my main team playing in the LCS and cheering them on and hoping they do well. Obviously, I would have liked to play. It's always fun. I always want to play more games. Please bring best of threes. Yeah, I mean, it was great fun. Definitely wish I could have played, but it's always a really good and very important thing to get your academy team some experience, especially on the LCS. And while a lot of rosters were not complete, like C9's, that doesn't mean that it's not still the LCS. You're still going to play and get better practice. And I think it was a really valuable experience for them. I think it helped them a lot. And I think, for the fact that their academy team, they got into the quarters and they played against EG, who's got to the finals. They did pretty good, in my opinion.
Did you guys have like any direct input with the academy team during lock-in, or were you just kind of like they were doing their own thing and you were doing your own thing?
No, we just let them fully. They were on their own, island essentially, like kind of just like the way it is naturally. Like they were in full control. We didn't have really any input outside of the fact that we're just on the same team. So we'll communicate between the teams about what we think is strong, what we think is not strong, strategies, counter strategies. But yeah, they were fully in charge.
Fair. So Jat rankings. I got to talk about this because I think he did you guys dirty. He ranked Golden Guardians 10th place. And when I looked at that, I personally could not believe it. But what would you say to the Golden Guardians haters or doubters who would rank you guys 10th place? What would you say to Jat if he was right here?
I would say I'm very surprised because last year the same thing happened, and we had, pretty clearly less experienced roster than we do this year, and we still didn't get 10th. We got 10th in one of the splits, but we didn't get 10th the second split. We made it to playoffs. So I think it's, a bit disingenuous to put us in 10th place when, in my opinion, completely unbiased, by the way.
Yeah.
There are rosters that are clearly less experienced and have a less chance of doing well, especially considering Golden Guardians has a history of performing well given the players that they're given. FBI, Huhi, and Closer are now considered like the best in their role. But when they were on Golden Guardians, everyone's like, they're not that good. So I'm personally surprised. I think it's a bit, it's setting yourself up to be smacked in the face.
Fair enough. Do you see you guys as yourselves as like underdogs in a sense? Is that like something that you see, or do you guys think that, oh no, we know we're like an upper half team and we don't have to prove that to anyone?
I don't feel like an underdog. I definitely felt like an underdog last year, but this year I definitely don't feel like an underdog. I think scrim performance is really important to your like mentality going into your games. And I definitely think from like scrims and the teams that are willing to scrim and our performance in scrims, I definitely does not feel like we're an underdog team. It feels like, we're doing very well, performing very well. And in my opinion, we're going to, be in the top 3 at least. So
wow, exciting. Well, talking about top 3, so a lot of people would have considered you a top 3 mid laner last year, and the mid lane pool has, I guess, shrunk a bit with Jensen and Jizuke and Perks all leaving the league for various reasons. So when you look at like the pool of mid laners this year, Bjergsen coming back, Power, Weevil, Jojopyun, etc., right? Do you see it as a more competitive pool versus last year, or do you see it as a bit of a downgrade overall?
It's certainly a downgrade. I was actually thinking about this today because I got to finally scrim against pretty much every mid laner, but I think it's for sure a downgrade. I thought it was going to take longer for me to feel like mentally that I was like a top tier mid laner, but after having played everyone in scrims, I feel like I'm already there. Like a lot of the preconceived like best players in mid, like Jojo and Bjerg and Abadage and Fudge, like they're not performing that well in the beginning. And of course, Fudge and Bjerg have a good excuse. Fudge role swap, Bjerg is getting back into playing. But I was really not impressed with Jojo when I played against him. So I think all the hype around him is certainly good for him, and I don't blame him personally. But to me, he's not a top tier mid laner yet. He could turn into one, but certainly the level of play has gone down. And in my money, I would say Abadage is usually the most consistently top tier player. But I haven't played him enough yet to feel super confident in that analysis.
I love the confidence. It's great. It's great to see more players, I guess, talk some smack a bit, and that's always fun. Well, that's all I got, man. Thank you very much for coming on, and best of luck tomorrow. And for more LCS interviews, check out thegamehaus.com.